Right, we're recording. We are good to go. So hello everyone. This is our team call. It's the 17th of December. Hey Claire. And I'm going to mute you all. So there's not sort of feedback, but there's a few bits where I'm going to ask you to speak and stuff. So just unmute yourself. You don't have to talk like always. You can contribute if you fancy. But today we're going to talk about the types of hunger that exist. And I thought that this would be quite a useful one to do, especially just before Christmas and with all the temptations around us and kind of just what's going, it's literally in front of us all the time. And there's a couple of types of hunger that I think are really going to play into what's going on around Christmas. So I thought it's a really good opportunity for us to have a bit of a chat, just to be aware of them, and kind of have a bit of a think about how we might deal with some of those. So I'm going to attempt to share my screen. We want this one. So let's see if this works. Okay, can you see my slides? Yeah, cool. All right, let's go. So there are 5 different types of hunger. So this is a lot of this is taken from To Be Mindset, and Alana's program, the mentor program that both Vic and I have done. But it's just really interesting to think of them in these kind of different 5 categories. And it was just what I found, it was a bit enlightening when I kind of did this part of the mentorship, because I'd never really thought about there being different types of hunger. You just often think about being hungry. You don't think about, why you might be feeling hungry or kind of what's going on. So I thought it was really interesting, and I really wanted to share this with you all. So first of all, one of the things that is Alana's pet peeve, and I completely get this, is when she says, so she really doesn't like the word starving. So I use it too often. I'm like, oh my God, I'm starving. I'm so starving. Like, I really need food. Where is the food? But, something that she said in the mentor training that I thought, gosh, yeah, that really struck a chord, is like, are you actually starving? No. People in the third world, people in Africa, these are people that are starving, that really don't have any food. And actually, it just kind of made it is a mindset thing, again, To Be Mindset and all that. And just really kind of trying to think, you might be hungry. Yes, you're hungry, but you really probably aren't starving unless you haven't eaten for 4 or 5 days because of whatever reason, sometimes sickness and things like that. And when I was really sick and I really was starving, like I hadn't eaten anything for 2 days, but I couldn't physically eat anything. So, just think about it when you are feeling hungry. Try saying to yourself in a different way, because actually when we talk to ourselves in that positive voice, it makes sure that we don't tap into this whole concept of the urgency around food and eating and needing to get to food immediately and straight away, and we end up grabbing anything. So just kind of using a different word, I think, is really interesting, and really helps us think about well, are we hungry? Yes, quite possibly, and what we can do when we are feeling hungry. So often you've probably heard so many people saying that in the past, are you starving? Are you hungry? Or is it that you're thirsty? So that's one of the first things that I've definitely come in to check within the last 6 months, is oftentimes I am not hungry, I am just dehydrated. And often by that point, it's too late, in the sense that you probably are really dehydrated and you need to go and grab yourself some water. The other thing to think about is that, sometimes we're not really hungry. It might just be that it's a habit. So I know for a fact that I sit in team meetings and I go, oh, I'm hungry, and I reach for the biscuits. That's a habit. That I am not hungry. Normally it's beginning of the day when I've got into work, I've had a good breakfast, or just after lunch, there is no way that I'm hungry, but it's that kind of habitual habit of kind of being in that situation. And that's something that I think is quite interesting. It's something that's kind of piqued my curiosity. So first of all, I just wanted to ask you ladies, what sort of thing or what word could you potentially replace with the word starving? Go. Gonna check it out there. Has anyone got any thoughts, or do you do this already? I don't know, Vix, do you do this already?
Yeah, I've changed it because I don't like it. It doesn't sit comfortably. And like Willow will say it, and I'm like, no, you're really not starving. So I just generally say hungry, or I do point out to her because she's not very good at drinking. I'll say, oh, you're probably thirsty because you don't have very much, and try and kind of talk about that really. So yeah.
Cool.
So I try not to use it, but I do sort of catch myself saying it because I think it's just something that our generation say. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Without thinking. But as soon as I saw that video, I was like, oh my goodness, we really aren't, and it's really insensitive. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like it. But yeah, you can only do your best. Like, I'm just saying hungry or thirsty, or, you know, the actual real stuff, or I'm really hungry, you know.
Absolutely. And I think
I'm ravenous, I could eat a horse.
yeah, I could eat a horse, like something like that. It's just like, oh, actually just tapping into the fact that you need to get some water and get some good nutrients into your body, I think is such a more positive way of thinking about it.
Yeah.
And something
Or
that,
I'm excited for my food, or I'm
yeah,
excited.
I love that. I need to go grab some nice food. I think something else that it was interesting because I asked the sing and sign lady, oh, what's the sign for hungry and thirsty? And she said, well, we try and not teach those words to kids. And I was like, really? She was like, yeah, we try and say like, oh, do you want something to eat, or do you need something to drink? Because it's tapping into the actual what they need as opposed to the feeling and emotion, which I thought, I was like, oh my gosh, like
Quite good actually.
yeah, so
Yeah.
I love that idea. So yeah, it's just worth kind of thinking about what word you can replace with the word starving, and kind of tap into, you know, and watch if you catch yourself saying it. And I think it's quite an interesting little exercise in itself. So what can we do if you are feeling starving? I think that, you know, often we, you know, I don't know, we probably, like, it's the thing about, like, you know, getting water and all of those sorts of things first of all. And, you know, I do think that that's something that is quite positive in terms of getting in your water, which is actually nourishing your body in so many ways before taking on food anyway. And I just think that that's like something really, really simple that you can do. And I do think that, you know, I've noticed that having some water first of all, it's just kind of, it just helps me to sit down and relax, and then I can go, right, now I'm ready to eat, instead of it being kind of senseless and not being mindful about my eating and just grabbing something and then not really enjoying it, whatever it is, whether it's something that might be a little bit silly and a treat or whatever. I also do find that if I get to the point where I am really, really hungry, and you guys can probably relate to this, you do just grab the sillier things that are lying around because they're often just easier. So having sort of snacks and things like that aren't that you know, are wholesome, but you can grab on the go and grab quickly when you are hungry, is something that can be really positive too. So launching into the types of hunger, so there are some that are, they're all real. They're all real, but physical hunger is a hunger that kind of that comes on gradually, so you don't kind of like switch and it's like a switch in your mind, and we'll talk about some of those that might be a bit more switch like, but it comes on gradually. You might sort of start to feel yourself get a bit more grouchy or a bit more lethargic, and one of the things to really ask yourself if you are feeling hungry on any of the programs or plans that we're on is, are you eating enough? And I know Claire and I had a chat about this last week, and, you know, doing exercise, using your brain a lot, these things can deplete you quite quickly. Everyone is very different, and everyone needs different amounts of food. All the plans that are out there, you know, I always say to people, they are guides. So, you know, we know that these programs work. We know that they've been put together by real experts and they are really amazing. But sometimes we need to tweak them to meet our individual needs. And we need to eat different things maybe that are going to make us feel fuller for longer and more satisfied. So if we're eating from the container system, for example, eating from those top sort of 10 foods on each of the coloured containers are the foods that are more wholesome. I mean, they're all wholesome and nutritious, but are the ones that are going to keep you more satisfied and fuller for longer, and really help with those sustained levels, which in essence means that you shouldn't ever physically feel hungry. If you're getting your water on board, if you're eating the right amount of food, you should never experience true physical hunger. What can you do though if you are? Well, there's loads of things you can do. These are just a couple of examples. One of the things that I always say is, you know, how much protein are you eating? Are you eating enough protein? You know, are you eating 2 small eggs instead of 2 medium eggs or large eggs or whatever it might be? Are you really filling up your container? Or, you know, if you're eating on 2B mindset, perhaps you need to increase your portion size a little bit more to make sure that you're feeling fuller for longer. We know that the purpose of carbs and fruit, because there's a lot of carbs in fruit, is for that sustained energy. So play about with eating different types of carbs. That's always a good idea. To see what works for you. So I find, for example, things like quinoa, although I'm not a massive fan of quinoa, but things like chickpeas and whole grains are much more filling and satisfying than bread or potatoes. So switching it up a little bit, there's things that you can do that is going to help give you that sustained energy and is going to make you feel more satisfied and fuller for longer, essentially. The second one is sense hunger. Now, I love the idea of sense hunger because this is the one that I think, this is the one for me, I think just makes the most sense. And this is the one for me that I think is going to be cropping up a lot in the next couple of weeks, and one that I am definitely going to be much more mindful of, and I have been much more mindful of in the last couple of weeks. Doesn't mean it stops me from overeating, but it also does mean that it's just, you know, I'm all of a sudden like, I understand like that some of these things exist, whereas before I just kind of, oh, I've gone too far. You know, you can kind of just kind of meander through, think that you're hungry, but actually it's because one of these reasons. So it's see, smell, hear, touch and taste. So seeing stuff, so it's on the table at a buffet and you just see it and you want it. You're hungry. You're like, oh my God, I'm hungry. I want that food. Smell. I don't know about you, but every time I walk into the shopping centre in the mall and there's, it sounds really silly, what is it? It's not cookie jar anymore, Millie's cookies. And you smell those cookies. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so hungry. I need some cookies. I'm not hungry. More of sometimes I am, but it's just because I'm smelling it, and it's that kind of, you know, that's why bakers pump the smell out, is to kind of attract you in. And you know, that's something that is very, very common, and often when if we're cooking or you walk past somewhere or you're in a shop, that can often trigger what our bodies think, you know, and it's all in the mind. It's all very much, you know, it tells our tummy tells our brain tells our tummy, oh, you smelt that and you're hungry for it. Doesn't mean you necessarily have to go and eat it. You can do, but you got to think about, you know, going to that kind of different point of, if you want to eat those things, and treating yourself in a satisfying manner, I guess. Now here, I don't have this as much, but I know, for example, some like Nick is the sort of person, not that I've been to the cinema in the last 18 months, but we'd always go into the cinema and he'd hear the popcorn popping and he'd have to have popcorn. I never really got that, but I'm sure there's plenty of other types of hungers, of sort of hearing hungers, that people experience, but that's just an example. The other one is taste. So often we might be in a situation where we're not hungry. We might have been out for a really nice meal and someone's got a dessert and they give you a taste, and then you're like, oh, actually, you know, I'm hungry for that, and you want to eat more. you might not necessarily be hungry. And the other one is touch. Now, again, I don't necessarily get this so much, but if you are touching something, like I notice when I'm preparing Lila's dinner and I'm cutting up like bits of cheese or whatever it might be, it's so easy to go, oh, that cheese looks nice, oh, I'll just grab a piece. Because you're touching it and you're handling things, you're much more likely to go, oh, I'm hungry, and you might eat it. And it's that kind of mindless connection. So these are things that I think, especially for me, the seeing and the smelling over Christmas are going to are absolutely the things that appeal to me in the terms of where I see that I experience sense hunger. So it's worth like kind of thinking about with yourself and over the next couple of weeks, where might you be in situations where this happens, and just tapping into those. Really, it's about being mindful. It's not saying that you can't have them or you can't enjoy them or whatever, but it's just that awareness and that sense of awareness that I think is going to really help us over the next few weeks and make it a more positive experience. I think sometimes people go into Christmas feeling like, oh, they're on this plan and they can't enjoy themselves. That's absolutely not what this is about. But also people come out of the other side of Christmas feeling quite negative and, really, feeling guilty and upset and depressed that they might have put on weight or they've overeaten and feel really disappointed with themselves. And I think just tuning into some of these kind of things is going to help us in the next week or so to maybe still enjoy ourselves, but enjoy it in a more positive way, and just really kind of get a bit of a realization for where we really might be hungry and where we might not be hungry, but it's some of these sort of external factors playing in. So what to do? Something that I need to start asking myself a little bit more, and I am doing this a little bit more, is to really kind of ask myself, was I hungry before I saw it? Was I hungry before I smelt it? And for me, it's definitely going to be like when I'm walking around Tesco. I'm going to go do some of our Christmas shop tomorrow. I'm going to make sure that I go having eaten a really good meal, because I walk around and I see stuff and I'm like, oh, I really enjoy seeing that on the table at Christmas. Oh, I really enjoy this. And I grab stuff. And I did it when I was in Express the other day, and I got home and Nick was like, what food have you actually bought? You've just bought things that we can't really eat. Yes, I do need to shop online, but I've left it too bloody late, Raven. So, I went in and I bought a camembert. We don't eat cheese, but it's a Christmas thing. I saw it and then I ate it. I really enjoyed it. And actually it was fine. I tracked it and it was, it was a treat, and that's okay. But, I definitely really experienced sense hunger and the seeing part of it over Christmas. And that's something that, I just need to be in tune with. I need to remember that I'm enjoying the moment and enjoying the experience. Yes, the food is part of it, but it's not the sole purpose of Christmas. And that's what I need to remind this little noggin in here about. So just asking yourself simple questions. It's not saying you can't pick it up. It's not saying you can't enjoy it. It's just about honing in and tapping into what is going on. Third one, emotional hunger, my favourite. So anyone want to shout out any kind of types of emotion that they feel for them personally, or in general, the types of emotions that trigger hunger?
Oh, blooming heck, like every emotion under the sun, isn't it? It's like stress, happy, like sad, all of it. Well, not so much happy, I don't know, but like celebrating.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, I've done really well, or that's really tricky. And something that 2B Mindset has helped me with, because like thinking, oh yeah, I've lost weight, and then going, oh, I can have that, whatever it is, chocolate or whatever, or oh man, I've put on, oh, I can have that chocolate, blah blah blah. But
yeah,
it really helps with that, and trying to like kind of deal with the emotion side of things, and like and also the water thing has helped with that as well, just giving me a little bit of a gap between the quickness of my brain going, oh, I'm stressed, give me the chocolate in my face. The water really helps with that, slowing the process down. calming down. You know, it's stressful having kids, it's stressful having our jobs and whatever, but yeah, emotional hunger, like stress, happiness, sadness, exhaustion. Yeah, well, that's not an emotion, but you know what I mean. That's just top of my list anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's me.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think for me, like a happiness thing, if I'm in like even in a happy situation and I'm with
Yeah,
friends and I get excited, I'm like, yeah, let's drink all the wine.
yeah, like a wedding, or like, yeah, or you're like, I'm gonna buy everyone drinks, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna be bankrupt as well as but yeah, it's the excitement, isn't it? Calm
Absolutely.
that down, not, you know, not being excited, but just like funneling it in the right way.
Yeah,
It's
definitely. And I think something that I've noticed is you know, whether I'm low or whether I'm happy, you know, I often revert to the trigger foods. So,
mm,
you know, when
yeah,
I was going through my tough time, Nick came Nick came back from the shops with a load of chocolate.
yeah,
But at the same time, you know, you often think like, oh yeah, I've had a really great week. Oh yeah, I'm going to treat myself and have some chocolate. And or, you know, for me, I often revert to those trigger foods.
yeah,
Or if I'm anxious and stressed, it will be fast food because I'll think like, no, I don't want to prepare any food. I'm
yeah.
too, you know, I'm too stressed, whatever, you know, or I'm upset and I just, you know, revert to getting something quick and easy that's often fast food and a bit junk like. And I
Mm,
then feel not guilty. I don't ever feel guilty, I
no,
think, about eating food, but I just feel really sluggish and a bit gross and kind of then really wish I didn't eat it.
mm, yeah,
Um, and the other thing that Alana taps into, and I do it as well, like if I'm feeling lonely or if I'm feeling sad, like using food as a bit of a filler to fill the void. But I think something that I'm coming to realize is that actually it's not filling the void. Like eating that food is not going to make me happier, it's not going to make me
no,
feel less lonely or whatever, and that's something that is quite difficult. And yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? But we could do a whole call
yeah,
just about emotional eating, which we
really.
probably should do in the new year actually, because I think
Yeah,
that's something we all
I
experience to a certain degree.
think it's addressing those issues in other ways, in other like adaptive, positive coping mechanisms rather than, you know, the negative ones,
Yeah,
and making us feel better.
definitely. So I think with emotional eating, I think again that for me it's definitely going to come up quite a lot over Christmas. And I, you know, just tapping into that and again being mindful of it, I think is something that's going to make us feel more positive. We're definitely all going to experience food pushes, I think, over Christmas. I know, I like my mum is terrible. Like when I
Yeah,
went back, she was just like, go on, just have this dessert. Oh, it's really nice. We've got this new dessert in. It's really, really good. Like it's been really popular on the Christmas menu. And I will cave. I tend to cave. And I've also noticed that when I'm back at my parents' pub that I kind of feel like I can just treat myself over the top, and it's just
yeah.
bizarre. I've noticed that there's different scenarios.
But then
um
that emotional hunger, that's what I was going to say. That's like with my mother-in-law, emotional, like going, oh, it's fine, you can treat yourself, or and then you feel guilty if you're about to say no, and you're like, no, 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 I'm allowed to say no. She's not going to be upset. She's not going to cry. Like, what's the worst that can happen? But you feel like you need to say yes, don't you?
yeah, you
You're
feel like
stuck.
you can't disappoint people.
Yeah. Whereas actually, it's your body. You eat what you want. Don't
Yeah.
eat what treat snobbery. See?
Treat snobbery. Here it
Yeah.
goes, it's coming out again. But I just think it's interesting, isn't it, that we feel like we have to say yes to things, but actually,
Yeah.
you know, with my mother-in-law, she kept asking me, Hannah, do you want this? Do you want that? And I was like, no, 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 I'm absolutely fine. And it
Mm,
helped that Nick, you know, I got like it be a leader, not a follower. I got
mm,
Nick on board with this a little bit. I sort of said to him, you know, I said to him, you know, I really want to enjoy my weekend, but I don't want to go and I completely self-sabotage at weekends. I know I do that,
mm,
but I sort of
mm,
said to him, you know, I do I don't want to just go mental. And that really
mm.
helped. But the thing here, like, don't get FOMO, don't get fear of missing out. Like, if you want something, have it, of course, if you really want it, or, you know, just have a little bit of that thing. But or if someone else gets something that's being offered, have a bite. You know, and it's the first couple of bites that we really enjoy, and then actually afterwards, you know, you then stop tasting the food. So that's something worth thinking about. And something you can definitely do, go and have a look at Alana's video on Instagram. So she posts loads of Instagram TV little clips, and she's got a couple of really, really good ones about emotional eating. So it's definitely, and like eating over the holidays, it's worth going and listening to her kind of talk about them, because I think she does it in quite a positive way, which just kind of explains it a little bit more in the kind of sense of enjoying yourself but not feeling like you're then going to be guilty at the other side of it, if that makes sense.
Also, very, just one quick thing at saying in a positive way, being assertive about protecting your journey as well. She's like, just say to people, no, I'm good, thanks, and like two hands on the wheel, like on your cup of tea or on your drink or whatever. Other people can do what they want to do. Just think about what you want to do, what your journey is, and you don't have to apologize. You don't have to say that. Just, this is what I'm doing. I'm good, that sort of thing. And I was like, wow.
That's quite powerful, isn't it? It's that sense of
hard,
power.
But it's powerful. You know, but it's also worthwhile. The hardest things are worthwhile.
You also do get those food pushers that really want to see you fail, and I think that this is really important. And if my brother ever watches this, which I think is very doubtful, he thinks it's hilarious if he gets me to eat something that I really don't want to eat, and he feels like he's like got a one up on me. We've got a bit of a funny relationship, me and my brother. But, you know, there are people out there that are like, see, I knew you'd cave. And actually, there's kind of a bit of me that kind of is like, well, no, I'm not going to let you win. Which is kind of it's a slightly bizarre way of thinking about it. But, yeah. That's me. So the fourth one, I'm worried I'm going to run out of time, so I'm going to crack through these last two quite quickly. So the fourth one is mind hunger. Now, mind hunger is really about the beliefs and thoughts that we have around eating and nutrition and following specific rules. So a couple of examples of this are like some of the fad diets that are out there. So, you know, things like the cabbage soup diet and all of these sorts of things, or the macros diet that says you've got to eat a certain percentage of carbs, protein and fats, or, you know, you've got to eat a certain number of sins or a certain number of points during the day. Now, these, you know, they're sort of these rules, and something that, you know, I kind of want to encourage everyone to do is kind of leave the past in the past and do, you know, if you're eating off the container system, whatever you're doing, to be mindset, it's really about finding out what works for you. These things are there as guides to help you work out your best solution. So that's something that I think is really important. Now, mind hunger can hurt us, but it also can really help us. So it can hurt us in the sense that we can overeat. So we eat too much and we're not actually hungry. So we kind of become a slave to that diet. So I did the stupid cabbage soup one. I've got 10 minutes. I did the stupid cabbage soup one. I really wasn't hungry, but I had to eat like a set number of bowls of soup. And then like one day I had to eat 6 bananas. The next day I had to eat 6. Oh my God, it was ridiculous. And I did that because I was following the plan. I lost weight after the 5 days, but of course I gained it all back on again. But it means that we could become a slave to it, and it can result in anxiety or stress, and we can kind of get a bit fed up and fall off, and it will stop you from losing weight and it will stop you moving forward. So that's something that's quite interesting in terms of how actually, yes, okay, mind hunger can be a good thing, but there can be instances when it really damages our progress. However, you can use it to help you as well. So for example, exercise is a great one. So mind hunger, so it can make us more hungry, exercising, so eating before and after. And you know, there is often a sense of, you know, and I say this to people, and I don't like the idea of using exercise as a way to reward yourself with food, but you can do it in a way that I've worked out and I've worked really hard. I'm going to go and enjoy a really nice, satisfying meal that's going to really fill my body with nutrients. I don't like the idea of being like, I've done this exercise, so I'm going to go and eat 2 chocolate bars. Because you're doing the exercise not so you can eat the chocolate bars, but so you can be kind to your body and get healthier and stronger and fitter and all the other things. So really kind of thinking about the reasons why you are exercising. Is it so you can enjoy those treats, or is it because of the real reason why you're following a program? Definitely worth thinking about. And events, and we can, you know, so being at different events, especially over the Christmas period, we can definitely use Mind Hunger to help us with this. So making sure that we take on our water and maybe eat before you go. So I know I've got an event on Friday and I'm going out. God, I've got loads of things this week, and I've got my Christmas party. So I know that there's going to be loads and loads of crappy food at my Christmas party. So I am going to make sure that I'm going to still eat when I go there, but I'm going to set myself up for success by eating something before I go, so I'm not absolutely starving. I'm not going to be starving, see. So yeah, so what can we do? We can just really think about it in the sense that we can use these plans as guides, and we make those tweaks to find the best solution for us, and keep tweaking until you find what works for you and you're achieving the goals that you want to achieve. And I think that sometimes, you know, if you're on a plan, you can sometimes feel that falling off can be quite a negative thing, and I want people to not think that that's a negative thing, but actually use it to your advantage of how can you, I guess, find something that's going to, you know, move, you know, sometimes it's those tiny little tweaks that you need to do to kind of move you towards your goals a little bit more. And go back and watch the goal setting video that we did a couple of weeks ago, because that will definitely help with some of this stuff when you're experiencing being hungry. So finally, sleep deprived hunger. This is Vic's favourite one. So it's absolutely a real thing. And basically, when we don't have enough sleep and we are sleep deprived, our hunger levels do increase. Now, the ghrelin in our body, so that's when you are hungry and your tummy makes a growl. So think of that. That is actual ghrelin, and that is actually the hunger hormone. And you will feel more hungry. Now, leptin is the hormone in your body that enables you to feel full, or it's the hormone that tells you when you are full. So when you are sleep deprived, ghrelin rises and the leptin level falls, which is why we then experience hunger. So it might be that we're eating the same food, but we aren't feeling as satisfied as usual. That's very, very normal. And we crave carbs because they are the thing that give us energy. So these are real things. And really, so many different people can experience this type of hunger. You know, mums with babies, shift workers, people that are doing, you know, a lot of exercise, you know, people that are using their brains a lot. So doctors, nurses, people like that can often, you know, people that work shifts, people with sleep disorders. So I've got a friend who's got incredible insomnia, and she is just constantly hungry because she's not getting enough sleep. We're not going to fix you know, everyone's sleep problems, but you know, there are a few things that we can do to help those. So what to do: try eating a little more extra carbs or fruit, and try and have them earlier in the day so you get more of that sustained energy. So we don't necessarily need a shed load of carbs just before we go to sleep because we're about to go to sleep. But if you are experiencing less sleep than we need, and when we say less sleep, it's consistently having under 6 hours a day, a night, even, not a day. Some people it might be day, but if you're consistently getting that, it's definitely worth looking at adding a little bit of extra carbs, but adding again the good carbohydrates and fruit, putting them more towards the beginning of your day or towards the middle, to then put you through and give you sustained energy levels for the afternoon. And unless you need to be up until 2 in the morning, go to bed earlier. and then you won't be hungry, will you? So that's something to think about. The other thing is definitely look into teas. So I know that Vic loves her teas. She has probably had Bristol house and home out of teas. I don't think anyone, but you know, things like chamomile teas and peppermint teas, and there's all sorts of wonderful teas out there. You know, peppermint can really help with digestion and things like that as well. So having sort of teas to help you relax. So if, for example, you know, I know especially when Lila wasn't sleeping well, I would get quite anxious and stressed in the evening and want to eat a load of food, thinking that, well, I need the energy because she's going to be up all night. But trying to calm me down and relax me then helped me to sleep when I could get the sleep, so that when she was awake, obviously it's still exhausting, but it can kind of really help. So yeah, those are the 5 hungers. I am going to stop sharing. Has anyone got any thoughts? We've got 3 minutes for this. What we will do is the call will automatically end, but I will log straight back in, and we can continue talking about this. But anyone, does that any of those particular hungers kind of resonate with you more?
The sleeping and waking up not starving, waking up very hungry. Yeah, because I'm on these sleeping tablets now, so I am sleeping, but I am really hungry when I wake up in the morning.
Yeah,
that's when it gets me. Yeah.
How about you, Claire? Any that particularly?
Emotional, definitely. And I did forgot I was on mute, and I did try and say, but a boredom thing as well. Like, I'm not really bored. I've got loads of things to do, but when I actually finally sit down of an evening, I just go, oh, what shall I eat? So I've bought a colouring book, an adult colouring book, to try and just to do something with my hands, really. Sometimes I think it's just that. I gave up smoking before I had my little one, and I don't know if some of it's a bit of a hang up of that, because I went straight into pregnancy, so kind of thought, oh, I can eat what I want, I'm pregnant.
I did that. I absolutely did. I gained loads. But I think that's right, isn't it? Especially if you give something up, like, you know, you give up alcohol or smoking or whatever, and it's like, it's a habit, isn't it? So, you know, for example, Nick always used to have something sweet. Now, I never used to have a sweet tooth, but Nick, when we got together, he'd always have something sweet after dinner, and he was definitely not hungry, but it was a bit of a, it wasn't, maybe I think it was a bit of a boredom thing, or it was that habitual thing of, right, I've sat down, I'm relaxing, I've had a crappy day, now I'm sitting down, and what do I now do? I have something to eat, or we get the snacks out, or we're watching a film, and you know, it's that kind of like, I need something to do with my hands. That's why teas are good, and like Alana says, 2 hands on the wheel and keeping hold of your water, or a cup of tea, or colouring, anything like that is a really good idea. Right, we're going to go, but click straight back on the link and we'll finish having a chat, because this is really interesting. All right, I'll see you ladies in a minute. All right, bye.